Hey, welcome to another edition of Tanya Talks. I'm your host, Tanya Ricketts. Today we have joining us is Brenda Van Rossum, who is an executive business and personal coach. And today Brenda's going to be joining us to discuss taking back your innocence. So welcome, Brenda.
Thank you, Tanya. I'm glad to be here.
And so when I think about taking back your innocence, what comes to my mind is, where did we lose it? How did we lose it? Is it possible to lose your innocence? It just seems so obscure of where it is. And obviously, whatever that statement means to you, it brought you to a place to gain your own personal power and strength. So walk us through what that looks like, and share just a little bit about your story with us today of what it means to take back your innocence.
Okay. So let me start. So firstly, Tanya, I want you to know that I'm really stepping out of my comfort zone by being on here and talking about personal things that we've kind of really kept a secret, and really secrets take power over people's lives, and they really don't help anyone else. So when I say taking back my power, taking back my innocence, as a child being born, we all have innocence. We're born in this world and we have this curiosity, we have this innocence of who we are. When I was 10 years old, so let me back up. I was born in Guyana, born out of wedlock. My mother left Guyana in the 50s, so I was being raised by my aunt, a wonderful, wonderful lady. So she was leaving Guyana in 62, so she had to find a place for me to live until I immigrated to Canada. So the family, they had some family friends. I was supposed to go live there, but the older son, who was 10 years older than me, sexually abused me. And I mean sexually abused me, took my innocence, took my virginity. So we're talking in the early 60s, when being illegitimate and not being a virgin is a biggie, because most people want to save it for your life. That was taken away from me without consent. And they realized he was caught. No one said anything to me. No one said, this is wrong. So I was left there as a 10-year-old to deal with that. So I have an older cousin who's about the same age as he is, Aubrey. He came to visit. So I ran to him to tell him what Lennox did to me. He did the same thing and then said, don't tell anyone. So I'm thinking now, it must be me. And you don't realize that when trauma happens and starts, your subconscious already takes that in and shapes you for the rest of your life. So even if you're going on like nothing has happened, you have changed. You are traumatized.
Right. And we internalize it, and you don't want to say anything to anybody.
No, and you're shameful.
Right.
So then I was sent to live with another family. And I lived there for over a year, a little bit, a year and a half before I immigrated to Canada. And within that family, there was Mickey and William. Mickey was actually older than my cousin. William is about the same age as, very abusive home and a lot of sexual abuse. And the thing is too, with Mickey had a girlfriend, and I thought I was his girlfriend. I'm like 10 going on 11. That's how messed up you get.
Right.
And then I came to Canada 2 years later, and my mom had borders, and the same thing happened.
And how did, so now walk us through the process of, so now you've lost your innocence. And
lost my virginity. Not wanting to correct you. Lost your virginity. Your virginity to a woman is precious.
Okay. So you've now lost your virginity, and you've now lived in different homes, and your identity is now molding itself, and your value and your self-worth is setting in. Now, what does it do for you as you start to move and you move out of the environment? So you're obviously out of the environment, and now what does that do for you?
Now I'm in Canada. I'm now 12 going on 13, and I meet young little kids, and young girls, where you say, I'm saving myself till I get married. And of course, what am I going to say? No. So I say I am a virgin too. So there's that lie. You're not only lying to yourself because you weren't protected, you're lying about being a virgin. Right? And the other thing about when you are invaded sexually and you're not mature enough and you don't give consent, you tend to be promiscuous because you don't know when to say no. There is no boundaries. There's nobody protecting you. So this shapes your self-worth. You feel like you are nobody. So when people see young individuals, people, girls or boys, because it happens to boys too, who are sexually violated and they're promiscuous, we judge. We don't sit there and find out what happened. So
but even when you do, like back in those times, it was different than now. It's a lot different now than it is back then. And I'm not saying it's changed 100%, because I do know people that still go through it. However, back then it was a little bit more known that if you said something and you spoke up about it, you were silenced anyways. Like nobody wanted to talk about it. Nobody wanted to take responsibility and ownership. That, nobody wanted to deal with the fact that, this abuse was taking place. So
trauma happened.
Right. So you're now, not only are you, confused, you feel violated, you're now having to be silenced. And then you take that lie out of the shame and the judgment and the fear and all that stuff that starts to start. That lie really is just a shelter for you. And the danger in that is it starts to become a normal way of living.
And not only that too, it's your prison, because you start to develop. You see, the thing about, we're talking about how we perceive ourselves. We're talking about the defense that you have. So you are living in this moment of always defending. You become extremely defensive,
right,
and you don't even know who to trust. So your trust is gone.
Right.
You have no one to trust. And that's a biggie, because we are connected human beings to be able to trust, to show love. So you start to take the love that you had, that pure love, that innocence that you have, and it's now no longer the same. So
right.
You don't trust, you don't value, and being defensive, you're defensive in every area of your life. So you go to school, you're ready to fight. I became a child that fought a lot. And I didn't have the words to say why I was fighting. So I was already.
Well, you're not understanding it, right?
Yeah, I'm not understanding it. And so you're put now as a troublemaker, as a disruptive person, as nothing but a problem, and everybody casts you aside.
Right.
And so when you are in this defensive mood or defensive place you live, remember they talk about fight and flight.
Right.
It's supposed to be temporary. It's not supposed to be all the time.
For the rest of your life.
Yeah, for the rest of your life. So what it does, it breaks our systems down. If you notice people, if you talk to people who have been physically, sexually, or emotionally abused, you will notice they have a lot of ailments. Like they probably have high heart attacks, high blood pressure, they're stressed, they're on medication. A lot of them turn to all kinds of drugs to numb that pain. You really want to just numb that pain and start to feel normal, like normal things. As a young girl, when you meet young girls, you talk about silly things. Right? You talk about, you don't talk about that when you're in a survival mode. You don't even get a chance to dream. When you put your head down
right?
at night,
you're thinking about how to survive. You're right.
How to survive.
You're thinking about how to survive.
So you don't live in that moment when you go to bed. Oh, when I get to be this year, I'm going to dream and get this. You don't have that. That's gone.
Right.
So the perpetrator, the violator who has pegged you, zips up his pants and moves on. And you're left with a life of trauma.
It's when you talk about, and I'm sorry that, I do have to say, I'm sorry to know that you went through this. I know there's so many of you out there that have similar experiences to this and are survivors of sexual abuse. And it's nobody should have to do that, go through that. Children shouldn't have to have that happen to them. Every child deserves an opportunity to grow up in a safe and healthy environment that is surrounded by love and just the ability to be kids. I say that kids have more than enough time to be grown-ups and adults in this world. So let's do our whatever we can to keep that innocence alive for them. And when you talk about what resonates with me is the body aspect of it. And this is where I talk about the 3 parts to healing. To give full body restoration is a lot of time we treat the physical only, but we're not dealing with the mental and emotional, issues that created the disease. And to me, it's about so all of a sudden you take that lie, you stuff all those emotions and it doesn't go anywhere. It just erodes at your system. right? And it really is about cleaning out I call it emotional plaque, really going through and doing that really good work to clean out the emotional plaque, and it frees you and it does empower you. So walk me through that process of how that happened for you.
So you're so right about emotional plaque. And if we think about plaque, just in going through a system, even if you think about it going through your veins, plaque really doesn't make the blood flow. So it's a blockage. So when we have emotional plaque, it blocks how we see the world. So let me give you an example. A few years ago, I have a lot of friends who are guys, and I've known this guy for many years. And he said to me, he saw me recently, and he goes, "God, you're beautiful." And I thought, wow, why didn't you ever say that to me after all the years? Well, he couldn't, because I was so angry and so hurt.
Mm.
And that shows up in my face as anger. It shows up, you don't see beauty. You can't see beauty. You see this person who's ready to attack all the time. So I
Mm.
got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I got sick and tired of no one really understanding me. And I remember as a young adult, I kept saying, something's wrong with me. And I confided to someone that I had this. And I goes, "I want to go to therapy." And he goes, "You don't need therapy because it's going to stay on your record." And of course, they liked me the way I was because you could trigger me because I was defensive. So they liked that. They would trigger me, and I would go the other way because I wasn't even seeing my beauty. I wasn't even seeing my value. I wasn't even seeing what was unique about me. Others did. I didn't, because all I saw myself is this illegitimate, violated girl who it didn't only happen to once, it happened to several times, and there was nobody saying to me how to protect me. So I realized that I have to protect me. So I started therapy, started, stop, started, stop, started, stop. Also, too, you self-sabotage. So when I'm in grade school, when I'm in grade 8, because I'm angry, I'm fighting, I didn't really do well. So they said, "You're dumb and you need to go to the dummy school."
Mm.
And so I didn't get to go to a regular high school. And so my dreams of whatever I wanted to be, whatever little dreams I had, was put aside. So I went to night school. And then when I'm going to night school, I'm getting some good grades. And I'm thinking night school is very dumb. Because I believe I'm dumb because I was told I was stupid. So you're told you were stupid, you're told you were ugly, you were violated. You just don't really feel good about yourself. Self-esteem and self-worth is out the window for me. So I went back to school. I went back to night school to get my grade 12 because the high school I was sent to, I didn't get that. So I got my grade 12 and 13 at night school. Then I applied to Centennial College. And I did a 3-year business administration, and I'm getting A's. And I'm thinking Centennial is the dumbest college because I'm getting A's. You see, remember the power of the mind.
Right.
When people are in positions
Yes.
of power,
Yes.
being your parent, being
Right.
school, whatever they tell a young child is
Right.
shaped. The
Absolutely.
words and the action is shaped.
Especially
So
when it comes from your primary caregivers that, this is what love looks like. So in your world, love looked like abuse. In
yeah,
your
yeah,
world, love looked like shame. And you're like,
exactly,
that's what love looked like to you. Love looked like not trustworthy. Bottom line is love
exactly,
looked like it wasn't trustworthy.
exactly.
It's interesting that you're saying that the people that you started to attract in your life, they wanted to keep you in that space.
They do.
And
Gaslighting. They
it
gaslight.
is gaslighting. And this is where this was the powerful piece I found in the whole growth process, is when you get to that point where you take responsibility that because you house this belief of yourself, you could only attract people that mirrored that belief. And that was taking ownership that I may not have started it. I didn't cause the abuse to happen, but what I can do is put a stop to it, because then you keep that power with that individual or whoever did that stuff to you to say, okay, I'm going to keep it alive. Well, you dismantle that power when you take responsibility that I no longer have to do that in this moment. And because those people that you attracted based on that belief system that was given to you in the beginning, it keeps them safe for you to be that person. It suppresses you being suppressed, gives them an opportunity to feel better about themselves in its own twisted way. And then when you wake up to that, you're like, this is enough. Enough is enough. And when you start to do that work, when you said it's enough is enough, all of a sudden those people can't exist in your life anymore.
They can't.
You're not suppressing yourself and your own beauty and wonderfulness, that they can't be there to they can't resonate with that with
Yeah,
you.
but they see your light before you do, and they see your power before you do. And that shiny object, when they gaslight you, is for you to be stayed away. So when I was at Centennial, I decided I did good in math and accounting, and I decided to go through and become a certified general accountant. They accepted me. I'm in my third level. CGA, and I'm going up. Don't want to do this anymore. Boring. This is what you do when you don't see who you are. You self-sabotage. People will sabotage for you, and that's okay. You let them, and you do the same. So then I thought,
okay, I want to
okay.
know. So what did you do to come out of that one?
I just didn't want to go there. I thought, okay, I want to be a social worker. And I applied to go to Ryerson, and Ryerson said no, because Ryerson, getting into the social service, at the time it was called Ryerson Polytechnical Institute. And they said no. And I go, no. You don't tell me no, because I'm ready to fight now. I'm like fighting. So I appealed. They let me in the next year. I get in. The professors are talking to me. I'm talking and I'm doing well. I'm thinking, nah, this looks like I'm the first year of a 4-year program to be a social worker. Something I think I want. Nah, I'm not coming back. So I didn't go back. So I didn't go back because you see, the thing is, you are not consciously aware of how you're self-sabotaging.
So everything you want is showing up in your life, but you're not ready to receive that.
No, you're not. And I mean, I'm at the time too, I'm also working at Bell, because I started at Bell. I remember interviewing at Bell for a telephone. I actually interviewed at Bell, and they said, you can have any job you want in Bell. This is what she said to me. Any job, because I'm making up this application. I'm just
and which one did you pick, right? Where did you aim?
She goes, you can have any job you want. So I goes, well, I'll take an operator. She goes, you'll take an operator? I told you can have every job you want.
Right.
So I took the directory assistance operator, and I'm a poor speller. So I'm on the phone with these customers who are calling in with these long names, and I'm disconnecting them. And the supervisor said to me, did you disconnect someone? I goes, no. I was trying to put the call on hold. She goes, okay, I think you should be a supervisor. I'm looking at them thinking, supervisor at Bell? Right. So I said, no, transfer me. So I took a transfer, and I went into another part of Bell. Right. And then I decided, now I'm going to decide to stay with Bell for a bit. Yeah. Got a few promotions. And then they asked me if I wanted to be in sales. They promoted me to sales, which has really been good. Yeah. Then while I was in sales, I decided I wanted to go back and get my degree. By this time I have children. They're watching me, and I cannot stop. So then I was able to get my degree. But the whole process now, I started back into therapy. And have been in therapy for quite some time. Therapy is a good process. I highly recommend it to everyone. It's a long process. The process is you get to be kind to yourself. You get to see what it is that you don't want to go and do. Right. Or you get to see now how you can start to regain your power and start to love yourself. Right. And so this process of therapy, this process of praying, this process of writing in my journal and giving myself, it's a long process. Mm-hmm. And, I finally thought, okay, let me now decide to come out. Actually, you invited me. And I thought, what am I going to talk about? And so I think I have a picture. I told you about that picture, right?
Yes.
And so that picture, as I look at that picture, I see the innocence. That picture was taken with my father. I think he had it. It was, I think what artist did it. It was him, one of his side chicks, and me. And this picture was going around forever. And I had it in my storage room. And when I took it out, I looked at her and I thought, it's time for me to now say, the person, the inner child, the me that had to go through this world with a whole lot of armor that was defending needs to come off. Mm-hmm. I want to be back to that person, that innocence, that beauty before I was violated. Before 10, I was this playful, brilliant child, but that got locked away. Mm-hmm. So that's why I said, taking back my power, taking back my life. So now I control who I bring into my life, the boundaries which I never had before,
Mm-hmm.
and who gets to know. And one of the things that I wanted to really reach out, I don't want anyone who has been abused to take as long as I had to. The process for me was a very long time. A lot of people who I've known for many years didn't even know that I was sexually abused. We didn't have those conversations. And also, too, you were very judged. A lot of times, I remember my mom saying to me, "Are you sure you didn't invite it?" And I looked at her, I goes, "Are you kidding me?" And this is just a few years ago, she said that. I thought, why would you tell your child that? You know, I imagine my children that being violated in that manner. I would take some responsibility as a parent that would have happened to my child. And I
Right.
would try to see how I could help them heal.
But
I
you
wouldn't
have to
bring it to
realize
them.
they couldn't deal with it themselves. And it's not to excuse it, because in no way, shape, or form are excusing it. But that was it's you're now, the children are left to now carry the burden of all the things that their parents can't handle when they're not embracing. And I always say that to human everybody, what doesn't matter what age you are, is you have to get to a point where you may not know how to handle it, but what you can do is journey alongside somebody.
That's
So
true.
you
If you can find an adult, yeah, don't keep it a secret. Find someone
but
who you
even
can
your
talk
children,
to.
because I remember becoming a mom and I thought to myself, there was a lot of things that I had gone through as a child. And I remember thinking to myself, how do I show up for my children in a healthy way? And I'm still dealing with a lot of my own stuff. And I remember at that moment deciding that I wasn't going to try to show up being a perfect parent. I was going to just journey alongside my kids. And that all of a sudden became very light. It lifted a weight off that I didn't have to show up trying to act or trying to pretend. I got to show up being me in front of my children as we took this journey of life together.
You had
Yes.
trust and awareness. The other thing, the things that when you're violated, it takes away intimacy.
Mm.
Um, so and getting unconditional love. When someone puts their hand on me, I immediately think they want to violate me. So you move away from that. You don't really give a whole lot of hugs, because whenever someone touched you, it was that purpose.
Right.
You don't share. You really, that true essence of love, that unconditional love, is very difficult for that person. So what I want people to understand is, don't judge that person because you haven't walked in that place. Understand this process takes a long time. It took a long time to get there. And the when you are fortunate enough to be given love, like the love of a parent, when a parent just loves you just because you are there and they see your beauty, and they can help you to love the world with all the kindness you have. Someone who has had trauma, that has been taken away. They
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to do that. So
Right.
they're trying to defend themselves. They build this wall. You don't think of it as a wall. You just think of it as, I'm protecting me.
Right.
The longer you stay in that wall, the harder it is when you decide now to come out. It's like being in jail and having a nail file and trying to file your way out of the prison bars. Like, I mean, is it going to go? So it is a
And it becomes
process.
your new normal too, right? Like when you live with it for a longer period of time, you become comfortable in it. It
You
becomes your
do.
identity. You become comfortable with it. So to step out of that, even from a physical perspective, your body, the muscle memories of all those feelings, like when you start to do the work to empower yourself, you're disrupting everything mentally, emotionally,
You are.
physically. You're disrupting all layers of who you are
That's
that
right.
has existed. Like people can walk around for 60 plus years. You're disrupting all those layers. So there's a lot of discomfort in that
There is.
physically, emotionally, and mentally.
There is.
So, you know, power to you that you're going through this. And we really have to be gentle on ourselves and understand that it is a process. And this is part of learning how to love yourself, is understanding that you're disrupting it on all layers.
It's true.
And just be still in that and let those layers sort itself through. Your body, your mind, your emotions, it knows what it has to do to heal. It knows what it has to do to come to a good place. And we have to trust it.
We do. We have to really rely on that. And, you know, our self-talk is vicious. Mm-hmm. When we think about the messages that we could tell ourselves, like, to be honest, although there's all kinds of other people out there that have not been supportive, there obviously have been others who have been and have seen the essence of who you are, but you discount those. For example, I remember this dude who, when I was 16, said, you know, I love you. You can get anything you want for your birthday. And I'm going, okay, I want a suede coat. Bought me a suede. And this person had so much love. I goes, I want to marry. I want to have all kinds of kids. And I'm thinking, way too much responsibility. I don't want all those. Because whoever was loving you, because you didn't know how to love you in the right way, you discount them. And then you go to those who are emotionally unavailable, because you have now become emotionally unavailable.
Well, you can't even show up for you. You can't even expect somebody to show up. No. And you can't, and in turn, you can't show up for anybody else either, because
that's right.
You're not even showing up for you.
That is true. And then people will say things to you and they don't understand why you overreact, because you don't understand what normal is. Do you understand? So you're still defending, and you're carrying this. Imagine, I'll give you an example. When I had my young daughter, I had 2 daughters. So one was a baby, and we went to Jamaica. So the airport in Kingston, Jamaica, they just had fans, right? And it was hot, 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 hot. And I have one baby crying and the other one pulling me. I'm at immigration. I have my suitcase and the guy is interrogating me about what I have. So I just kind of took all my tampons, put it on top, and then he saw it and he got embarrassed. That's what you are carrying. You see, the luggage, my daughter, the baby, all that stuff in immigration, that's what you carry daily. That's what emotional baggage looks like. People don't think because you can't see it, you carry it. So when you're carrying all that, it's hard on your system too, because your system has to work twice as hard. When you're in a happy place, when you're content and you're able to do it, your mind and your body does not have to work as hard.
Right.
Because so that's all the stuff it does. It's just emotionally very difficult. And also it robs you of who you can be. So you'll never really know truly who you are totally, because that part is taken out. So you get to create the new you. Right. But my whole point of doing this is to help anyone so that they don't have to feel they're alone. Mm-hmm. They don't have to feel that it's their fault, because it never is. Anytime someone who's older than you attacks you sexually and you didn't give permission, it is not your responsibility. So that burden could be left. Find someone or someplace that you can start that process, because it's not going to go away unless you do the work. Right. It's never going to go away.
It's almost like the waking up, right? It's I have somebody here just messaging us on writing in on our live chat, Irina. And she's saying that she's not saying that, she's saying you attract those that resonates with your frequency. And when you don't do that work, you continue to keep that vibration, that energy, that spirit, that belief system alive. And you are only going to attract over and over again the mirroring of what you were told the love looked like. Love is not trustworthy. Here's this guy showing up to love you, but you can't trust that love. What does that love look like? You can't trust that love. That love is foreign. It's like, and you think that the whole world around you looks like, you think that person that's doing it to you is odd, that there's something wrong with them. So it is important, number one, for children to speak up. And I think it's really important for anybody that children speak to about it, that we take them seriously and we step in and do what we can. Even if you feel that you can't do something personally, help that child find a resource and an outlet in a safe place that they don't have to live with it for they can deal with it right away. Yeah. It's so important.
It is
for them to do that.
I think it's also important that parents start the conversation very early with their children.
Right.
And you see, there is no shame in it when you start that conversation and you have the conversation so you prepare your children. There is shame when you sweep it under the carpet, because when you sweep it under the carpet, it not only stops you from helping your child to heal, it really doesn't help them to grow as best as they can. So it's very important for parents, or if not the parent isn't able, somebody older, to have a conversation so a child knows how to navigate in a safe world.
Right.
That's
right.
really important.
Well,
The other
Irina's
thing,
writing us back here, and she's saying we should teach our children these essential tools of life.
oh my gosh, where's the chat line? How come I don't see the chat line? Oh, okay. So I'm not reading the chat. Okay. Yeah, I'm just concentrating on you. It's true. It is so true. And,
Right.
and answer the questions to your child in an honest way. When they have enough, they'll stop asking.
Right.
That's really important. The other thing that's important, if you want to support someone who has gone through this, is don't judge.
Right.
Learn from them. You see, what you don't understand is your words are powerful. Mm-hmm. Words have a power that we sometimes underestimate. Mm-hmm. So don't discount this person's experience and go, well, if that was me, I would have done this and that. You don't know, right? Mm-hmm. You just have to listen, have empathy. So with empathy, I come to you in a place where, heart to heart, I'm here to give you a safe place. Mm-hmm. I can't undo what was done, because you can't undo it. But what I can support you in doing is helping you to find a new way to navigate and learn from the experience. So what this experience has taught me is A, how to have empathy. B, I didn't have to repeat it. So I'm thankful that, because a lot of people who were violated turn out to be, they do the same thing. I made a conscious choice that I didn't want to do that. So I'm thankful for that. And I think a lot of that had to do because my aunt valued me.
Nice. So you did have somebody in your life.
Oh yeah. If it wasn't for my aunt, I wouldn't be here. If it was not for my aunt, this is why my aunt died 8 years ago, and I still talk to her, because she was a person that thought I was worth something.
Right.
The other thing too, when your child, if anything happens to your child, get them help without having, remove all your stuff, whatever guilt you have or whatever you don't have, remove everything you feel about with whatever that therapy would look like. But get your child the help that they would need, and understand too, it's not going to be a one-time visit. It will take some time.
Right.
It took time to get there. And it will take time.
Here's where when I first started my coaching profession, I remember a lot of people asking me, would you see my children? And I said, no. And they said, well, why? I can't deal with them. There's things that I can't handle. And I said, to me, the way I viewed it was, I would help your child, but they still had to go back into the environment where the problem was created. So if your child had a chance to overcome what it is that they were going through, I needed to know that the parents could step up to the plate and get the help they needed. Because when the parents get the help that they need, it changes the environment in which the child is growing up with. And that's where I talk about the journey of the children. With the parents, it becomes a journey. Like, this is where the open conversation comes in. This is where the honesty comes in, that, you know what, I'm learning just like you. You might be, little, and I might be older, but I'm learning something too. And you brought something to my attention that obviously it's giving me an opportunity to deal with. And that's why I never saw children, because I felt it was like putting somebody that has an addiction into a rehabilitation center and then putting them right back into the drug addict facility that they were in. How do you expect them to recover? So dealing with the bigger issue, which is the environment that they are being nurtured in, let's deal with that, the primary caregivers, because then your kids and you have a better chance of healing on a whole. That's generationally too. You're setting a new tone generationally.
It has to come, parents have to take some responsibility. So let me tell you some of the other things that it does. Shame. Shame is, we underestimate the power of shame. I think maybe that's why they say in the Bible that shame is one of the evils, shame and guilt. And part of that is shame has a power over you, in that, think of yourself as putting on 50 pounds of weight and carrying it around all the time. Shame eats away at you, the essence of who you are. Shame tells you you're not worthy. Shame tells you you're ugly. Shame tells you you're not smart. Shame tells you that you don't deserve this. Shame is the biggest liar. But the thing is, you believe it. You believe shame, because shame comes in, shame and guilt, because that's what you have. You have shame and guilt as if it was something you did. Understand, when you are sexually or physically or emotionally abused and you're the younger person, you didn't deserve this, and you didn't start this, so you don't have to own it. And
Right.
when you're
But
owning
you're going to
things,
finish it because you're not going to carry it with
yeah,
you.
you have to take it up after and try to fix yourself and heal
Right.
you, because no one else is going to do it. But these are the things that it does. And when you are looking through the lens of shame and guilt, you don't see a clear, it's like it's like you need glasses and you haven't tested, you're going along all the time and you're squinting and you can't really read, but then you get glasses and you can see clear. That's what the healing and the therapy does for you. You can now see clear. Here's where I'm strong. Here's where I need help. Here's where I'm not going to go back. But you get the power to say no.
Right.
And no is a very, very powerful word. When you can stand up for yourself and say no.
Brenda, I do have to tell you that, I'm gonna speak my truth in this moment, just because I've had 2 decades of working a lot, having the honor to work alongside with people to trust me to help them get to a healthier place for their life. And one of the challenges that I found with working with individuals one-on-one was, when they went to therapy, the therapists were very good at listening, but they weren't actually helping them work through it. They weren't giving them the tools to work through it. And I'm not saying that is every therapist out there, but there are a lot of therapists that's what you're trained for, is just to be there, to show up, to listen, to let people get it out. And people wanted the tools, not just the listen, but they wanted the added tools of how can I work through it. So finding a really good therapist that knows how to maneuver in both arenas is so key. Because I unapologetically say that just listening to somebody does not help them necessarily. It just helps them release it. But there's stages to it. There's layers to it. There's depths to it. Now you've released it. Now what do I do? And that's where it usually ends after therapy. They don't know. So when it comes up again, they weren't given something. And this is where I say, when I was a mind body coach and I used to deal with individuals that had sicknesses like cancer and fibromyalgia, and we were working through eliminating it and healing from it, it was about removing that emotional plaque, giving them the tools to know how to remove that emotional plaque from the system. And for any therapist out there, I'm really suggesting that you understand how you can provide the tools in addition to the listening. Listening is just one tool. There's other tools.
I think with therapy, I guess that there's many types of therapy that you really want to go to. I think what they understand is the dynamics of how these things affect the brain, and how to help you to see it differently. So when I go to therapy, and I still do, me just talking about it and really now hearing it, because as you talk about it, you can be talking like in the third person, you really get to see the full access. Where coaching comes in, coaching goes from this moment forward. And so they're two different things. Coaching will help you to build some more tools, but if you have not acknowledged what it was that got you there, no matter how much coaching you get, you're never going to go. So that's where therapy and coaching could just marry each other and support each other in the other way. But they both are a very important role. And I believe too, what coaching does, it helps you to uncover what caused you. Because remember, you have buried some of these things. I mean, you know, in your inner minds, because in our head, we're very intelligent and we can assess certain things. In our heart is where we want to be. So when you go to the therapist and they are able to uncover by going back into certain things, what really caused that trauma, That's where they help you. And they can say, okay, so this is what trauma does to you when it happens. This is what it stops. And then as you come to the present now, you can now start saying, okay, this suitcase I can leave behind. This I can leave behind. Here's the work I need to do. How do I start loving me? Here's the things that I need to do. But
You know what it is in a nutshell? Mm-hmm. It's waking up one day and say, I'm choosing me. For once in my life,
it is waking up. Me. I want to say this. I don't want people who have not come to this place to feel like they didn't succeed. I'm just fortunate that I have had some opportunities. A lot of people have gone through their whole lives and they're still trying to talk to that person or that family member, or they're expecting the mom or father to say, I'm sorry you were violated and I wasn't there, and they're waiting for that. And that may not happen. But so we have to still be kind to all those who have not really had that journey, because sometimes you may need money, sometimes you may need support, sometimes you need to even acknowledge, and you have to be vulnerable. And you have to also own that all this happened, but you also had some stuff about you as well that you didn't feel good about you either too. So there's a whole lot of going.
Well, there's a lot of mirroring, right? There's a lot of mirroring, and it's like all of a sudden, I call it tennis. So you're playing tennis. Tennis. We're playing a tennis game.
Oh, right, yeah.
And you're playing a tennis game back and forth. With you're born into this environment, you get this, and you start to attract based on what you feel, and then all of a sudden, you're playing tennis. And now that I look at people when they come up to me, and I was like, okay, this is what you're going through, because I can feel it. I've been through it myself. I know it. I smell it. Love knows love, hate knows hate. All those terms. So you know what it is. And I kind of look at it like, I'm not playing the game, so I let the ball go out of bounds. And, when people, when you said earlier on in the conversation, people, you were a fighter and you liked that. And when people come up to me and they want to engage me in a fight, or they want to engage an argument with me, I laugh, because I'm like, you're only fighting with yourself, and I'm not going to get involved in your internal struggle. Whatever that fight is, don't invite me in the process, because I'm not going to disrupt my spirit with whatever you're not working out. But if you want me to show up to help you get through that, I can, but I'm not going to let you disrupt. And I think that is taking your personal power back, is not taking on everybody's stuff. Because I think that there's so many of us out there working. Well, I call it the backpack. We're walking with this backpack. And when you open up that backpack, like I would say 90% of the stuff does not belong to you, but you're carrying it like a warrior, and wondering why, you're feeling miserable, why you're feeling fatigued, why you're emotionally distraught, why you're feeling guilty all the time, why you can't get ahead, why you're stuck, why you're paralyzed with all kinds of stuff. It's because you're carrying stuff that is not yours.
You're trying to justify feeling good by doing all these other things for people, not realizing that the first person you have to take care of is self. You have to be self-full to be able to serve. So when you take on all these other people and you carry all that weight and they're not doing, you get angry. Right. But they didn't necessarily ask you to take their burdens on.
Okay, so now I'm going to challenge you. Okay, so listen, so when you take that backpack off, so I do this exercise with people a lot. And the exercise is, you take the backpack off and you start to unload all the stuff that doesn't belong to you. And I love it, because all of a sudden people's names come in your mind and you're like, this is yours. I should have never carried it that long. This is yours. I should have never carried it like this. I'm giving that back to you. But when you do that imagery wise in your head and you feel lighter, it will show up in your reality, where all of a sudden those same people try to give you back what you took out of the backpack.
They get angry.
They do. And when you resist it because you're choosing you, and you're setting boundaries and you're not engaging at that anymore, because you're taking that away from them, all of a sudden they can't handle it. They're going to fight with you more to try to keep you suppressed.
They want to keep you stuck. You see, you have to go around people who celebrate you. And as you start to see that and feel that celebration, you leave behind those who or no longer serve you. Interesting, I think, I'm in helping them, enabling them. I'm wondering how what the service I have done. So I've gone to a few people and say, listen, I'm going to apologize for whatever pain I have caused you. I can't undo that pain, but help me to understand what it is I need to do to correct it. And, you know, if nothing, fine. And that was my forgiveness journey, because I had to go through self-forgiveness, and that was the hard part. No one came to me and says, I need to apologize for you, but
Right.
that's okay. But so
it would be nice, because there are people. I won't say that there aren't people. I'm not going to categorize everybody, because I do know parents that have gone back and said to their child that have recognized the truth. It's a big thing to have to stand in the mirror and look at yourself and be accountable for who you've shown up to be in people's lives. And that to me is also a reflection of the self-love you have for you.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So I'm going to say that Susie Orman had made a comment years ago, and it stuck with me. She was talking about it in the money sense, but it resonated with me on all fronts. You cannot give somebody oxygen if you're not receiving oxygen. Put your own oxygen mask on.
That is true.
So that resonated with me, was like, wait a second, I can't help anybody in this world unless I have my own oxygen mask on. And so, you know, there are parents that do recognize and do face the truth of who they are and who they've shown up to be, so that they can start coming to a place of loving themselves, because really it's a reflection of their value and worth, that they don't believe that they deserve to exist in a healthy relationship. That is true. So when that person wakes up, they will apologize. But as long as if you are the abuser, as long as you suppress facing the truth of who you have been, then you continue to abuse not only yourself. So you are also in bondage.
That is true.
So when you're going through that forgiveness process and you're saying sorry for the adult portion of you that has continued engaging in the tennis game. And you're releasing yourself from that, saying, you know what, I apologize. It wasn't necessary, because now you're choosing a reflection of love in the depth of your soul.
That is true. So here are the things that I would suggest to anyone who is going through this. Be kind to yourself. Understand that the journey is the journey. You may fall off, you may come back again. Understand too that you make a big difference in this world. You are learning. Use some of the survival tips. Like, you had to survive in a very defensive way, yes, but you still survive. So take those skills and understand, and you can put it to learning other things as well. You know, you have the skill of resilience, you have the skills of survival, you have the skills of compassion, you have the skills of empathy. You could help people to understand that this is a better world. From the point of view of waiting for someone to come and acknowledge what they have done, it may not happen, you know. And I think I heard, I think it was Maya Angelou that says, giving someone or having this hard feeling and having hate and unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Right? And when she said that, I thought, damn, yeah, what am I getting all upset with that person for? And they're moving on, right?
And a lot of times they don't even know that you're sitting there wounded.
I think sometimes people are intentional. We can be quite manipulative. We're very smart individuals sometimes, and we feel that our power is to control people and make them weaker.
I think we're self-serving. I think human beings are self-serving. So yes. They will do what they're not self-serving. They're preservers. Human beings are preservers. So they will do whatever they have to do to preserve themselves when they feel threatened in a situation. Because all of a sudden, if you're used to fighting all the time and somebody's no longer engaged in that fighting with you, they have to preserve themselves because they don't know how to exist outside of that. Yeah. So now they go into their own fight or flight, mechanism. I just have to interrupt for a second. I have Irina writing in saying, feeling responsible for others' feelings and happiness is part of our human history in ourselves. And that's true. We have been taught as a society that we're responsible, for other person's feelings and happiness. And only when you become conscious, you understand and you can choose that we are not responsible for somebody's happiness. But it was interesting because when somebody said that to me and they're like, oh, I'm not responsible for their happiness. And I said, listen, I think as a collective consciousness, we can participate in wanting to make ourselves happy. We come from within. And that happiness I want to share with you. And that's what, you know, in my logical thinking is how we want to make somebody else happy, but it starts with us first. And then we come together and we share that happiness as a mutual agreement that we're going to share this happiness together.
Yes. When you're in a dysfunctional relationship, you lose who you should be responsible for. So if you're an older sister, you take on their responsibility and forget yours. If you're a daughter, you take on the mother's shame and everything else and take yours. That's the point that you want to get rid of. In a loving family, certainly you should be there to support each other. And certainly you should be there to be part of that family that could, you know, but when it's dysfunction, it takes a total different, that person is left behind. You take all your money and spend it on everyone else. You take everything else and do for them. And then you feel angry and guilty. That's the problem. It is not even.
But there's the reverse too, right? Because when you start to stand up and you're like, I'm going to love myself, you still have that guilt because you're like, well, maybe I should. I'm so used to doing this.
Yes, you
and
do.
Then you try to walk out of that behavior, and then you know, you feel mean, you feel guilty.
They call it survivor's guilt. Right. They call it survivor's guilt. So, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's what I would suggest. Always find something in the universe, whether it's your God, whoever that is, to give gratitude, to pray, to open up yourself. Journaling worked really well for me. Therapy, I would recommend highly. And if you're in a position that you could get a coach, I'm not saying this because I'm looking for anybody to come to me, but get a coach, because a coach will take you to that place that you can't even think that you could reach. And sometimes we need that to look for the future. Don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. Because a lot of people who've gone through this, I was fortunate that I didn't have to think about suicide, but I know a lot of people who have told me about the suicidal thoughts. And some of them are quite young. Like I thought to myself, oh my God, at 11 and 12, you're thinking of not being here.
Right.
We have to take these things really serious if we're going to help our children to have a healthy mind. And so we have to kind of listen to them. And again.
And be kind to one another.
Yeah.
Be kind.
Yeah, be kind to one another. Reach out. And again, the biggest thing is don't judge. Judging is harsh. Judging is cruel. Judging, you know, and really think of our words and give unconditional love. So that's my thing. That's what I would suggest. I
want to say we are nearing the end of the show, and I just wanted to say thank you very much for being a guest on Tanya Talks. And I want to say just congratulations to you for I feel honored that you would be on my show to use this as part of your healing and also to help others going through the same process that you've gone through in terms of getting your power and your strength back in your life. Just congratulations for being brave and having the courage to come out and to confront it live globally, like all over the world. I have to say that, like, I just want you to be sure that, you know, she's fanning herself.
You know what? It was time. And I must say, it couldn't come in a better place for me to do it, because you invited me and the universe says, it's time, give it to her. So because I gave it to you. You asked, I gave it to you. And I admire you, and I admire your courage, and I admire the passion that you have. You're brilliant, and the world needs people like you. So I don't have a problem with this, and I just hope it helps more than one person, especially the youth, because they are our future. This is why I give these things. This is why I do this. I want our youths not to take as long as I had to take to get my power and my voice back. So I'm kind of glad that, you know, when you came to me, I thought, yeah, I'm gonna take my power back.
Just so the audience knows, all the guests that I have asked to come on the show, I asked them to, I never pick the topics. I just asked them to come on and share what they felt in their heart. They felt that if they wanted the world to know something, what would that be? And I let it be an organic process for everybody because I like authenticity, and I let it just be an organic process. So all the shows that you're seeing really are things that tugged at individuals' hearts. And this is, you know, what they're dealing with in their life and what they've gone through in their life. And, you know, in hopes that each of us can come together and take a little piece of it, and it'll enhance and enrich our lives. So thank you, Brenda, and thank you to everybody else that has joined the show, and all of you who have participated and watched the show and written in. If you have any questions that you want us to answer on the show, please go to tanyatalks.ca, and you can write to us and let us know if there's a topic that you would like to discuss. If you'd like to be a future guest on the show, please do write to us on tanyatalks.ca. Also, if you are dealing with something in your own personal life and you are looking for the support, your ally, your cheerleader, your friend, please visit tanyaricketts.com, where you'll find out more on how you can get support in your life to heal, take it to the next level, and just to live your best life, just to become the best you can be. All right. You can follow us on Tanya Talks on Facebook and Tanya Talks 4 on Instagram. Until then, happy Friday, everybody. Join us on Monday, where we are going to have AJ Newman saying Striving for Excellence. Okay. Have a good weekend. And Brenda, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. Have
a great
one.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.